I know this song.
Somebody's singing in the background of my gig.
My sisters and I used to sing this song. Oh, beautiful. Wow.
There's a
That's really beautiful.
Thank you. Except for that woman in the audience who was trying to sing along with me. I don't know if you heard that, but it was
I
like
didn't.
it was driving me crazy. It was subtle. You had to be there. It was like, oh.
I
And
don't
then
know
what do I
why
do?
people do that.
You know, I know you paid money, but your name's not on the ticket here.
That's funny.
Right.
And I'm glad I didn't actually sing along.
Oh no, you're welcome. Let's do it one day. It'd be great.
I had twin sisters, 4 years older than me, and we grew up singing together, and that was one of our big hits.
Oh yeah, y'all did a
Mr.
harmony.
Sandman.
I know. Who was that first did that?
I
Was
don't
it
know. Was it sisters or something? Or
not the Boswell sisters, but
I feel like it was sisters, but I'm not sure. I'd have to go look.
hey Google, who did Sandman, Mr. Sandman?
Here is some information from the web that might possibly help. On the website songfacts.com, they say, Mr. Sandman was written by songwriter Pat Ballard and first recorded by the Chordettes.
The
It
Chordettes.
became the first hit for them, staying at #1 for an
Huh?
amazing 7
Can you-
weeks in 1954 and launching their career.
Can you believe
Wow.
that? Can you believe
Interesting.
I have this evil little box in my house?
And you use it very well, apparently.
Well, I'm addicted to it. I know when to unplug it. No, but a friend of mine had it, and I said, "Wow, this is amazing." First of all, I can do that without going to the internet and using my hands, and doing going to the internet. You can just find out stuff like that by asking.
This is a different thing than Siri, right?
It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just- I have YouTube Premium, so I can watch YouTube with no ads for
Right.
$30 a month, worth every penny, because I'm on YouTube a lot. I'm
Yeah.
watching it, and then this is a lot of the stuff that I get from there is coming from YouTube. Like if I say play Ted Greene or whatever, it'll say,
Oh.
you know,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, it is.
Is this a
But
Mac thing or a PC?
I have an iMac
Yeah.
about ready to be replaced. It's probably 11 years old now.
I know. I forget the word they use. It's not ancient, but it's some word like that. Mine is a 2013, and he keeps telling me it's whatever the word is.
Obsolete.
So something like that, but it works fine. But I mean,
Yeah. And if it depends if you want to start doing other things, then you have to start adding this and that, and then it gets so
yeah, I can't actually upgrade, like put more memory into my computer because it's too old. So I just keep cleaning it out and using external hard drives, to shift stuff over.
Yeah.
Anyway, Phil de, and did you say it was pronounced DeGruy?
That's if I'm Phil DeGruy, the out-of-tune guy, but actually Phil deGruy.
Oh, it is Phil deGruy.
And one way to remember is Phil deGruy.
Is that like a French
It
pronunciation?
is French, yes.
Okay, degree, yeah. Okay, Phil deGruy, ladies and gentlemen, my guest. Very exciting.
Thank you, Cathy. Wonderful to be here.
It's so great. I'm so happy. I was introduced to him, which is interesting to me. I am so friendly with guitar players. Somebody should have told me about you, but Carol Robbins told me about you, the beautiful harpist. And
hi, Carol. I know you're watching now.
So yeah, and obviously you're inspired by harp.
Yeah.
Because you made a guitar.
Ted Greene turned me on to Carol. He said after one of my lessons, he goes, "There's a really great harpist at the Westwood Marquee in Westwood, right? Doing the happy hour thing." And I walked in there, and it's this lush hotel, and I'm walking there with my tape recorder, it's all brazen. And she was gracious enough to let me, record. And that's when I first met her. So, and she had that gig for a few years. It was great.
She's such a great player, and she's the one that everybody uses here, like all the jazz chamber orchestras, Billy Childs, and I mean, she's
that Billy Childs whole thing is just amazing.
Isn't it gorgeous?
Yeah, I actually saw them in New York City years ago. Some kind of way I was there and they were there, and it was amazing. And I think Larry Goldings was on keyboards. Yeah,
another genius.
Yeah, and I love Larry Coons. I love all those Larrys.
Yeah, Larry Coons. Yep. One time you'll appreciate this. I did a gig with Larry and Dave, his dad, just the two of them and me, and I was so blown away because they were from the same musical universe.
Yeah.
It was so intriguing to me, It was great.
The DNA is amazing. Now, didn't Larry, I'm thinking of the character that he created, the funny guy, the European guy, Larry Goldings is what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Heinrich or Heinz or something. God.
And he started doing Monk with major seventh chords. And,
yes.
and to improve it, he had to improve it.
Yeah, that shit is so funny, man. That is really funny shit.
Yeah.
So
I love to ask people, I love to ask people, when's your next gig? Well, it's going to be aired over Facebook.
You're such a troublemaker. I can tell already.
Oh, damn.
So I just want to say some hellos to you from my friend Roland Askerins, he's a kind of a closet guitar player. In fact, I just saw all his guitars. He has I think 8 or something hanging in his closet. Anyway, he said, I always wondered how much of an adjustment is needed to play a slant fret guitar.
Not much at all. However, it depends how fan it is. In other words, you can get it so that it's like a peacock, as in Charlie Hunter, he was a guy who turned me on to the whole fan fret system.
Oh.
Late 90s, I had my first guitar. That's when I started to stand up and play and started getting in trouble with sciatica. But it is so, if Pythagoras was here today, he'd be making guitars with fan frets.
Huh.
Each string has its own intonation. You want a shorter treble string, and I need a shorter treble string because I have a high A instead of a low A like Van Epps and most 7 strings. So to tune up the pitch, I have to have a shorter scale length, or else I'll pop the strings. So it was needed for me, and it's just ergonomically great, and I love it. I get on a straight fretted guitar, regular guitar, and it's like, it's not natural. So I'm really sold on it. But I've been doing this for over 20 years on a fan frets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've had.
I didn't realize Charlie Hunter played that too.
Oh yeah, he's a guy who, when he came to town, I said, "What the hell is this?" And he told me all about it. And then he got me a gig in Berkeley, and that's when I met Ralph Novak, who's the innovator of the fan fret system. And so we got to talking, and he knew my problem, mainly tuning up the pitch, the weight of the guitar. It was a monster. It was an experiment. And so he made this incredible guitar that I played for 20 years. And then recently, in the last couple of years, I had one made here in my neighborhood by this incredible luthier named Vince Guidros. And it's a lot lighter. It's a semi-hollow body. It's the one we just heard, the opening take. That's the one that I play now.
Yeah.
But since then, I got this baby, and it is just a work of art. I don't know if you can see. It's
beautiful.
It is amazing.
Now, is that a guitar or is it just? Or
No, it's a 7-string acoustic. It's so sensitive. I can get harmonics. Just
wow.
It's just an amazing guitar.
Sounds beautiful.
Yeah, so I'm in love with this. This is what I've been playing for the last few months because I haven't really had many gigs. And most of my gigs, I play the harp guitar.
Yeah.
So since I've had this, I'm just, no harp strings, just real simple, back to the basics. So I'm loving it.
It's great.
Yeah, the harp guitar, I mean, there's always, it's hard to get a great sound out of it. You know what I mean? I mean, you have to have everything right. The harp strings are very sensitive. I have to have equalizers. It's baggage, man. I asked for trouble and I got it,
Yeah. Well, that's what the universe does.
Yep.
You want trouble, you got it.
Yep.
Toby Simmons is here. She said she loves your stuff. Joyce Glasgow, Terry Linder says hello. Mark Baldrich, Sonny Wilkinson, good friend of mine who's a great singer in Minnesota. Michigan. Sorry, Sonny. The brain, Sonny doesn't
West
care.
somewhere.
And let's see. So the bridge compensates for the fanned frets? ?
The bridge has to be on an angle. So the bridge is coming this way, the nut is going the other way. So that there's the bridge.
Yeah.
So, and then see how the nut is going the other way.
Yeah.
So that you have a longer bass string, shorter treble string. So then if I wanted to do stretches like this.
Oh.
That hurts. But it really is an incredible system. And it's not a big deal to get used to at all.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a big deal. No, it's not. I'm hooked.
You're hooked. So, sorry, just telling somebody don't call me. So, where are you from? Are you from there?
I'm actually from this neighborhood, Mid-City.
Really?
Across the street from City Park, which is incredible. It's a savior. I do lessons out there in City Park sometimes, and it's my favorite part of town.
Nice.
I've moved to other neighborhoods, but not for long. I've always come back to this neighborhood.
Did you ever live outside of New Orleans?
I've lived in California for just a few months, specifically Big Sur.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I was there in 1989. In fact, it was 89. I was there like June into September. And then I was thinking, okay, I'm going to go home now. And I had this old Plymouth Valiant I'm riding home with. I said, I'll go down to LA, see Carol, and then I'll go back home. So I see Carol down. I'm leaving Los Angeles, bad time of day to leave. I'm leaving at 3:00 in the afternoon. I couldn't believe the traffic. That was when road rage, that word, that term started to get popular. In 89, you know, and I can see how people get pissed off around here. It was insane. Anyway, I have the radio on, and the earthquake happened in the Bay Area in Santa Cruz.
Oh man!
Right where I was. I mean, I was there like 2 or 3 days before.
Wow.
So there was no cell phones in 89 and stuff, and people were thinking, oh, and freaking out. So I finally had to call my family and say, I'm all right. You know, it was crazy.
Interesting.
But I haven't really I haven't packed up my stuff and rented an apartment or bought it.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you, how being that you're from New Orleans and you've lived there, you know, most of your life, do you,
All my life.
all of your life? Yeah. Except for a few weeks.
Yeah, like a few months. You're right.
Few months. But, how do you view New Orleans? I mean, obviously you like it or love it. But how do you view it as, just in comparison to the rest of the country? Like, have you ever thought, maybe I should go to New York or,
New Orleans is another country. It's not part of this whole trip.
Yeah.
I have a love-hate affair. It's a paradox. Well, it is and it isn't.
Yeah.
It's,
which is a paradox.
Exactly. So it's got this charm, but don't depend on anything working right. Randy Newman came on the radio after Katrina, and it was saying how unique New Orleans is. But if you want your car repaired there, you don't want to go to New Orleans. He was just saying how it's just like the funkiest place on earth, you know. And there's a reason. We're below sea level. The humidity. Right now, I have the AC on. It's 70 degrees outside.
Wow.
You know, I mean, we get 3 seasons in a week because it'll get colder, and so I love this time of year. But summertime, which starts in April, I'll have the air conditioner on from April to November without turning it off. So it's getting hotter and hotter. So if you can deal with that funk, you know, and it's just an interesting town with some really crazy characters.
Yeah.
Like a lot of places, you know, but New Orleans seems to really draw a lot of people from all different walks of lifelessness.
Right.
And, so we got some creative zombies, and we have some, but it is, I can't live anywhere else, you know?
Yeah. In fact, I told you I was talking with Lauren Pickford, and
he knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, totally. I mean, that's why he's been there a long, long time, because I think he even went to Kansas City for a minute in between, in between living in New Orleans. But, and he's from Fresno, which is its own unique place. But on the outside, Fresno appears like very kind of other planet farmer type of people.
Haggard. There.
Was he? I don't know.
Oh, no, Barstow or one of those places.
Yeah. But then when you get into the artist community in Fresno, it's very deep, really deep. Yeah. And that's where he's comes out of, and his dad, I don't know if you know this, but his dad was a famous painter.
No.
Yeah. Yep.
Lauren's dad.
Lauren's dad. Yeah.
What's his name?
Pickford. I can't remember.
Mr.
I haven't
Pickford.
thought of it. Yeah, I haven't thought of it for a while, so I can't remember. But yeah, he was a famous painter, and Lauren was just Mr. Creative.
And when did he and his dad move here, or just
no,
Lauren?
Just Lauren. Yeah. He moved to. Let's see, he was in L.A. and then I think after he was in, I'm pretty sure after he was in L.A. he went back to Fresno for a while. Then New Orleans. I'm not sure if he lived other places. New Orleans, Kansas City, New Orleans.
Right.
And I don't think he's moving from New Orleans.
Well, you know what the first commandment in New Orleans is, huh? Thou shalt
No.
not, thou shalt not commit adulthood. Nobody grows up here. It's a party nonstop, and that's part of the whole charm. It's so apathetic, and you know.
I could have ended up there easily.
Care not to care is what I'm saying.
Air not to care. Yeah, that appeals to a part of me. You know, I grew up in Boston, and my twin sisters were more like my mother, and I was more like my dad, and my dad was a musician, and you know, and I just had a rebellious streak in me, and Boston, I loved Boston, and I moved from Boston to get basically away from my mother. And,
But how old were you when you moved?
21.
So you didn't go to Berkeley or any of that stuff?
I did go to Berkeley, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, I played this instrument, which I'm trying to get my everything back on, and but I was a singer forever. But and then I went to San Francisco for a minute, but it was too much like Boston, and then I came to LA, and I was thinking of going to New York, and then I met my first husband, Garcia. But yeah, but I could have easily ended up in New Orleans, you know, just yeah.
Just making sure no relation to Jerry.
Other than spiritual, no.
You know what St. Peter said to Jerry Garcia at the pearly gates?
I can't imagine.
Do you bring any? Got any? Anyway. So that's interesting. And then this brings us up to how did you meet Mr. Greene?
Okay, so the story of how I met.
He's not hanging out at the bars, man, in LA.
Well, okay, so I was 21 or 2,
wow.
And I was a waitress at the jazz club Dante's.
Oh, yeah.
And he was.
I'm sorry to interrupt. What year?
Well, let's see, 70, 78, 77 or 8 or something like that. And let's see. Wait a minute. Oh, I was, let's see, 53, 54, 55. I don't know. Maybe I was a little older. Maybe I was 22 or 3. But so Ted was there that night. And it was probably, I don't know.
He wasn't playing though.
No, he was listening.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you knew this about Ted, but he had super sensitive hearing. And so he fainted because the volume was too much for his system. So he fainted, and I happened to be right there, and I was looking over him, you know, and he opened his eyes, and there I was. So it was like,
whoa.
You know,
so you were waitressing that night?
I was waitressing, yeah.
Holy first of all, I'm perplexed because I know Ted was into rock music for a while. I mean, he can play anything.
I know.
You could hear anything and play it.
I've never asked him what made him like that.
When you say he fainted, I suspect dehydration. First of all, we know he wasn't drunk.
No.
No, but he could have been dehydrated. Anyway,
he could have actually. But so then we got friendly, and he found out I was a singer, and I knew his name from Berkeley because when I went to Berkeley, It was probably 80% guitarists.
Right.
So I knew his name, and then I said, but I didn't know how famous he was, you know. And so I said, "Oh, you want to play sometime?" And he said, "Yeah." So little did I even know that I was one of 2 or 3 singers he played with at that time. And then we got together, we were building up something, and then I got us a gig. That was my first gig in LA, and I put up a few little signs, you know, near music stores. And when I got to the gig, there was no standing room.
Right.
And that was my first gig. I was like, oh my God, you know.
Where was it? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was a place called the Sound Room.
Okay.
It was in Studio City. It was there for a while, that venue. And yeah, so we actually had a steady gig for a while there.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And
He was a great guy, great person, right?
and the thing about Ted, you know, you're a singer, you might want to do this tune or that tune in a different key, or have to do it in a different key, or whatever. And no problem with Math Boy. He was so, and he was incredible combination of right and left brain.
Unbelievable.
The creative thing, and then he had the Rain Man kind of thing, you know, where you
Yeah.
could figure this shit out so quick. Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
And then, well, and with going back to Berkeley, and all the students knew about him. It was probably because of chord chemistry. That first book, which was raised the bar chord really high.
Which later he called Chord Frankenstein.
Well, he always had, you know, reservations about his stuff. You know, oh,
Yeah.
I could have done this, or I should have. But I mean, and he did that one record and set the world on fire.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just sent you the other one that George Winston put together from that lesson that I had.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
He was just so
Stunning.
high on playing, just for like 6 or 8 guitarists hanging around, and just
Yeah.
really just.
I'll tell you something, one more story.
Okay.
So that was the first gig I had in LA. The second gig
Wait.
with Ted,
Okay.
that was my first gig. My first gig in LA.
But you've had a gig before that in LA, but not with Ted.
No. Well, maybe with the guitar player that I that I moved to LA with. I think he and I had. No, I don't know. Let's see.
That's amazing. You it's like you went right to the top.
I know.
You know what
I
I mean?
know. But the funny thing was, I had a gig after that. Apparently, I didn't have gigs in between, or many, maybe, or outside of the guitar player that I was living with. And I called songs, and remember, Ted was really into modulating in the
Yes.
song.
Yes.
So I didn't realize that the key that I was perhaps starting in was not really my key. So I was calling these keys, and they were totally screwed up because they were the Ted Greene keys, which was not really and truly my key, because he would like play the A section in one key and then maybe modulate, you know.
Also, he tuned down. He tuned
Oh.
down sometimes a half step, sometimes a whole step, and maybe a minor third. That was his trip. I mean, a lot of his stuff, like I think his record was mostly down a whole step. That's why he's got that wonderful lush bass sound.
Yeah.
Though he played 6-string, you would think, oh, is this a 7-string? You know, he was just very witty about that. And yeah, I love the modulation. It's like Send in the Clowns on his record. He goes through 4 different keys.
How did you find out about Ted?
Through my teacher, Hank Mackey, a wonderful teacher and friend. And we actually went out and visited Ted. I went out and met him first, and then the next year I brought out Hank. And we played we had all these arrangements, man, and Ted just loved it. And we just hung out with Ted for a few hours, just me and my teacher, Hank. So I was with my 2 gurus.
Wow.
Yeah. Hank turned me on to Ted. And when I got the modern chord progressions, that was what really set me on fire. I mean, I would study that, and I marked off the ones. I really got involved with that. And then I went back to see him a few more times, you know, and he could see that I was doing some homework. And I finally got my first harp guitar, and he was impressed. He just wanted me to play each string and recorded it just to know what tuning I was in. It was insane. You know? That was his final apartment in number 9 in Encino, the one he had.
Oh yeah, I remember that apartment.
Yeah. So the last time I visited him in his apartment was, I think it was in '89 when I was coming back from Big Sur. And then I didn't see him for a while, and then saw him at Spazia's in 2000. 2001, in fact, about a month or so after 9/11.
Oh,
So that was, but anyway, it was a great hang.
yeah. And what did we say he passed in 2007?
No, 2005, because it was a month before Katrina.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Katrina was late August. He passed in late July.
Yeah. 16 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, I remember his memorial. It was amazing. About 500 people were there.
Oh yeah. What
Yeah.
would Ted do?
Remember when,
Be like Ted or whatever, the T-shirts and all
oh,
that.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I wonder if I still have that T-shirt. I remember Dan Sawyer played a video, and it was going on. He was playing at somebody's wedding, and he said, finally came on, and he said, I would wait till the break to stop this, but Ted never took a break.
Right. Right. I think it was Joey B's wedding.
Yeah, that's
Joey
right.
B, please shut up. Ted Greene's playing, everybody. It's a wedding. Sorry, we can't do that. But it's sort of like, you know, it's rough. It's a hard gig, you know, but not for Ted. I mean, he's just doing his thing.
He just loved it so much.
My favorite thing, and I got this one from Barney Kessel. He was in the Hyatt Regency here in New Orleans, you know, back last century, I like to say. And Barney Kessel said, we want everybody to have a good time and have fun and everything, but if you could please talk in the key of F on this next thing. That was a polite way to say shut up. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I like that. So, were you a child guitar player?
I still am.
Okay,
Let me grow up here, remember?
Can I put this differently?
Here's what happened. My brother got a guitar for Christmas. I was in 6th grade, so he was in 10th. And I was forbidden to play it. It was a piece of shit, acoustic, you know, whatever, Marco Polo or whatever. And, so when he wasn't around, I took it out the cave.
Uh-huh.
My mother heard that I could pick out stuff. You know, I was picking out Hello Dolly on one string, you know. And then she tried to get me lessons, or she did. And the guy, you know, this is like I'm 12 years old and I got to start reading, and I didn't go far. So then I just started playing, listening and hanging out at the music store and playing rock and roll and the Beatles and learning this and that. And I went to boarding school for a couple of years. That's when I, you know, went from jock to rock. I said, no more football. I don't like this shit. I like my fingers. And then after high school, that's when I met Hank. I heard about Hank, and I was really interested in senior year in high school was a big game changer, because my mother gave me my first Chet Atkins record.
Oh.
Clapton and Roy Buchanan, you know, rock stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, this guy's, what's going on here? This is like a mystery, you know? And so I was trying to like figure it out, and like putting the needle on the record and going back. And I picked out a bunch of stuff, but I couldn't get a lot of it. And I heard about Hank Mackey, and Hank knew the whole technique, and he knew how to do the harmonics, which was a big deal.
Yeah.
That was a mystery. It was like, oh, what the hell is going on here? So Hank opened up so many doors, and we got to be friends, and we played together. And he's still living, and I love him. He's like 75 years old now. He's going to be 76.
Yeah.
But he's an incredible player, you know, and he really loves the bebop, the Barney Kessel, Joe Pass, that whole thing. That's his main love, you know. But he studied. He was a classical player in college and this and that. So Hank Mackey is who turned me on to Ted Greene. So, but those books, I was like blown away.
Did you have trouble? I'm just curious. I never asked anybody this. Did you have trouble getting into it? Because it was quite involved, right?
Oh yeah, nothing but trouble. It was like, it was just daunting. It was sort of like, where do I start?
Yeah.
It's like so much information A wealth of information, especially these days, a wealth of information can lead to poverty of attention. There's so much shit. Where's my attention going to go?
Yeah.
So it was, and I'm still like that. Like, wow, what am I going to play? What do I want to play? What am I going to practice? You know, there's just so much material out there, so much going on in the head. You have to start making decisions, and decisions about not making decisions. But
I can relate to that. So
yeah. But then just listening to Ted, and I did so much of that. Him and Lenny Breau were my.
Oh, yeah. God.
And I don't know if you know about this. There's an 8 CD set that somebody made. It was Lenny and Ted hanging out all day. You know about this?
I don't think so.
It was like 70,
Wow.
78-ish. I can get some copies made. I had some sets made. They're 8 CDs, so each one is almost an hour. So they were just hanging all day. The problem was, I think Lenny's girlfriend at the time was there, and she wouldn't shut up.
Oh.
I mean, she'd shut up, but then she'd start laughing and making comments, and you just can't we take it out the mix? No, we can't. So anyway, that's sort of correct, because they were just making each other laugh. Ted would play this classical stuff, and Lenny would just crack up and go insane, and it was just amazing.
Oh my God.
Guys together all day. And there's CDs out there of it.
Wow, I have a friend who he and I have had a friendship for a long time, and he's always his ability to find CDs is really great. Dan, I know you're on here listening, so your next job, should you decide to take it, is Lenny Breau and Ted Greene playing together, 8 CD set. Wow.
If you can't find it, it'll be hard. It's not going to be. It's kind of some guy, a fan of mine, Ron Casey, I believe is his name. He emailed me out of the blue a few years ago and said, I have this. I said, yes, indeed. And then I sent him some stuff that I had. I had a personal recording of Lenny Breau in 1980 when he debuted his 7-string. That's what got me onto the 7-string.
Oh.
With a high A.
Yeah. Playing
a classical guitar. It had a low A. It came with a low A.
Yeah.
Japanese classical guitar. It was nice. It wasn't real expensive, but back in 1980, it was about almost $1,000. You know.
Yeah.
He got it, and he took off the low A, and the only thing that he could find that would tune up to pitch was fishing line. It was a classical guitarist, so he had 20-pound test fishing line for the high A.
Oh my God.
That's some folksy stuff there. That's like Appalachian.
Yeah, that is.
And the revolution began because he was starting doing all these Bill Evans tunes, and he could get the melody and have the bass going. So that was a thing. And then I got a guitar just like that when I came back, and I got it for cost, you know, so it was like half price. Hank got it for me. So I started shedding on that. I started transposing all my 6-string. I'm going to do this. So I had it about a couple of years, and I said, I love the 7-string idea, but I need a guitar made for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was when the first harp guitar came about. I was thinking, well, what about having extra strings and I can keep going? And it just kind of evolved. It was insane.
So, and what made you pick the harp kind of sound? Was that specific?
Carol? No, I love the harp, and I love, you know, harmonics, and I wanted to keep going with the harmonics because you run out of strings, you know, especially 6 strings.
Yeah.
So if I kept going, I could keep going into this next register with my right hand. So there's no separation between the 7 strings and the harp strings, so it's seamless. So I can do a 17-string arpeggio, and that's sort of what I had in mind. And I've been fighting it ever since.
Obviously, you have
fighting with it, loving it, hating it, loving it. You know,
yeah. And you obviously love the Great American Songbook because you play a lot of it.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's another whole category. That's a lifetime of work. You know.
Yeah.
Now I love Brazilian stuff. I love I love pop tunes from like the 70s and 60s, you know. I recently started doing Pretty Ballerina by the left.
Oh,
I
wow.
had a date with the so, it's such a fascinating tune. And I started doing it, and I tuned down to D, and I'm working it up. It sounds all right. It's just fascinating. So,
Interesting.
by the way, I don't do arrangements. I do derangements.
I see.
You
I was
know,
gonna, you know what song I was teaching somebody yesterday, and he was asking
I'm
about
sorry, vocals or flute?
vocals,
Okay.
and he was he was asking about how to basically kind of how to approach reading, but not serious reading, but as maybe on his level, he does read, but he wanted to apply it to his singing. Anyway, he picked Mona Lisa. What an interesting song! As I kind of pulled it
Uh,
apart and like was looking at the motifs, it
uh-huh.
was wow. That was a really interesting written song.
Uh-huh. It's never stops. And
Yeah,
you write your own stuff
yeah,
sometimes?
I do. I write kind of. I have the like a more folky way of writing, and then I have a more jazz, like very modern way of jazz. Whatever I'm made of, I guess.
And what usually comes first, the lyrics or the melody? Because I got to tell you,
Balanced.
yeah, the few tunes that I write, especially with words, the title comes first.
Oh,
This title's so hip, I got to make a tune out of it, or
yeah.
But
Well, I know exactly what you mean. I have a few songs I'm kind of brewing, and I wrote lyrics to one of Carol's songs,
which one?
Three Rings.
Nice.
Such a pretty song. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's a great composer. I mean, she covers so much territory
yeah,
and ears. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure you sometimes come up with a melody first, or chord progression, or lyrics.
yeah, it's you noodle long enough, something's going to come out of it, and then you
Yeah,
have to retain it and say,
yeah,
well, where do I want it to go? If I want it to go anywhere, and then it's okay, I'm going to make it go somewhere. And
yeah.
if it doesn't happen, then you stop. I
Right.
stop.
Yeah,
I I don't have a real a lot of perseverance as far as that. As far as if it's not coming to me, I'm not going to it.
yeah,
I'm not going to force it.
yeah,
The other thing I like to do is just do song parodies. Like I did Crazy,
yeah.
but I did it for these quarantine times, so I did Stir Crazy. So I'll do that on some gigs. People will love it because people, they want to hear some fun and lyrics. And most of the time, unless they're players, they don't know what you're doing. They don't have.
Right.
You didn't hear that substitution I did?
That's funny.
Yeah,
A lot of times when I'm writing, I think more than anything, I'm led by emotion. Like
I know.
something will be touching me, a loss or something like that, and then that will lead me. Well, I think a lot of times I've written like that. But I agree with you as far as like trying too hard. Yeah, it's like
Yeah. It's like the SAT test. Let's go back to it later. The question. But I actually have told students, I'm going to sue you for intentional infliction of unemotional distress. Emotion to this shit here. Come on. But then once again, it's left brain overshadowing the right.
Yeah.
So, and that balance is tricky,
Yeah. Yeah. I've been reading The Inner Game of Music. Have you ever read that?
I'm from New Orleans. We don't read. No, tell me about it.
Well, written by Barry Greene, I think his name is, but he kind of co-wrote it with the author of all these sports applications of the inner game of baseball, the inner game of
Wow.
whatever. And
Seems like a book Ted would really dig because Ted was into baseball.
Right.
Baseball card. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. But anyway, it's about the balance,
Yeah.
basically. And but so yeah, and it's just about the balance, and it's interesting because it's there's gentle and subtle ways that hit you over the head from what he says, and it's stuff and you observe in yourself, and but just somebody acknowledging it,
Right.
is just makes you look at it a little differently, like, oh yeah, I know that. Oh, so he's talking about that. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Yeah, it's really good.
One time, it was probably somewhere in the late 90s. I was in LA, and I became friends with one of Ted's students, mainly on the phone. And she invited me. She knew I was going to be in LA. She said, "Why don't you come to a lesson that I'm having with Ted?"
Oh,
Great. If that's cool with Ted, I would love to just be a witness and watch
yeah.
the process. And she was kind of a beginner. And but Ted was just incredible. He was starting to talk about vectors, you know. And then he gets a phone call, and and his phone, the wire was all tangled. I couldn't believe that he lived like this.
I think he had a princess phone, didn't he?
Probably so. But, he didn't cross leg like Buddha, and he kept
Yeah.
down on the rug, and with
Right.
everything everywhere. And he answers the phone, and then he starts like demonstrating Bach on the phone. And I recorded that. I have that somewhere. I'm gonna send it to you.
Oh, wow.
Like a half a minute of it, within that lesson, a lesson within a lesson. And it was cool. That was just
He was so kind, wonderful.
yeah.
Many times I would ask him why he didn't play more, and he would say, Kathy, because I'm not as good as people think. And I'm like, Ted, you should share what with yourself with people, because you're wonderful. And no, I am not as good as people expect me to be.
If he really had ego dissolvement. He had.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a spiritual leader in that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. It wasn't about me. It was about this thing, music and life. And I always would say, Moses parted the Red Sea, Oppenheimer split the atom, but Ted Greene cut through the bullshit. It's true.
That's funny.
And then he could play and talk at the same time and explain shit while he's playing Bach and improvising Bach over some standard. And well, if you get this a little 2/500 and you're just talking while he's playing, that's incredible. That's like an art form in itself. So when he taught, which he did all day, that was his performing. That was
Yeah.
his way of performing. I mean, he wasn't there to perform for people, but people would just love when he would just play a couple minutes for him.
Yeah.
Fortunately, there was a bunch of people back. My landline. So embarrassed. Shut up. Anyway, it was so incredible that he could do all of that.
Yeah. I have a friend who does stuff like that. He's a pianist and arranger. He has a foot in classical and a foot in jazz, named Bevan Manson. And he was arranging and producing this record, The Jazz Chamber, that I did. And while he's listening to the playback, he is on the computer writing a whole different arrangement. And he's listening so well that he says, oh, right there, that bar, right there, there's a wrong note there.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow.
It's very Ted-esque.
Yes, definitely. Let's hear a little music. I'm sharing with.
Okay, do you mind if I visit my restroom?
No, and I'm going to play that third song that you said, that would probably be good. The full set from WWOZ. I won't play the full
Well,
set.
yeah, it's just damn, I don't even remember. You know what? This is on my 7-string electric, built by the same guy that built my latest harp guitar and my acoustic guitar. I think it's a Beatle thing. Yeah, let it fly, and I'll be right back.
Okay, cool.
This is a gas. I love it.
Thank you. Ooh, yeah. Oh, it's hard to turn this whole thing off. I'm gonna just go with this one. Up. Okay, I'm gonna. It's hard to turn you off, but
Oh no, it's
yeah, for me it is. Oh man, that
not.
was gorgeous! Wow,
Clams
so
and all.
wonderful, wonderful to hear you. You know, yeah, it's just as you said before. People really have to be into hearing intricacies to appreciate your playing, because just like the normal, somebody who's putting on music in the background, they might like it, but the thing is, when you really do appreciate the different intricacies, both of playing the guitar and also the harmonies that you're using and the space and it's really beautiful.
The deeper the harmony, the less the pay. No, people want to dance. People need a beat.
Oh,
We're all like that, and then we grow out of it, and then here we are. But most people are, I
yeah.
remember Howard Roberts said in the clinic that I went to. I love the word clinic. 20 years old. He came here and did a 3-day clinic. This is before GIT. It was right when that was starting.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He said, people don't know what they like. They like what they know. And it was like, wow, that's so perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love Howard Roberts.
What do you find is your inspiration, or do you have different inspirations?
That's a deep question. My memory, the fact that I can remember something from whenever, that's inspiring to me. And then, of course, when I can't remember it, then it comes back. Memory is so mystical and elusive. There's this folder there that opens up, and you can remember all this stuff from whenever, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
We can't remember 30 seconds ago. So I find memory a very intriguing thing, and I like to memorize all kinds of stuff, and just like words, of course, chords and stuff like that. But
yeah.
But when I make an arrangement, it's a kind of thing where it takes a while, and it'll be like a tree. You know, I got to let it grow.
Yeah.
And then after you play it, it's like, oh well, I could have. It's like Ted. Oh, I could have, should have done this. That's just part of the, you know.
Yeah. Part of the process.
Well, yeah, we're artists. We're miserable, and that's the way it is. Be happy, you know.
Right.
Be happy that you can be miserable when you have to.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's what it's, there's somebody's quote, the blessed unrest. I can't remember the whole quote. I have it somewhere on my computer, but yeah, it talks about that particular thing. The artist is never happy, never totally happy because.
Yeah. Nor, you know, if you're happy, you're overlooking something. You know, you're not not happy, but just it's the wrong word, but
satisfied or something, or yeah.
I have my own serenity prayer. I'll use it sometimes. Grant me the serenity to accept the fact that I'll never be totally in tune. I'll always be slightly out of tune. The courage to retune in the middle of a tune, and the wisdom to know the difference will hardly be noticed by the tone deaf, phone grabbing idiot.
Oh yeah, man, that is a real prayer.
Oh well, I had to learn of the original. Being a Catholic boy from New Orleans, you know, I had to change all those prayers around to suit my fun.
Yeah. What do you? This is you know, I sometimes I ask a similar question for people just to kind of get a good comparison. What do you think success is?
First of all, look at the word success. There it is, you know, because it's success today and then failure tomorrow. You know, you can't have success without coming from failure. That's why a lot of people don't want to get on a stage or play music or pursue, you know, music, which you have to be obsessed with. You have to be obsessed to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
And most people are scared of failure. And that's all this. Oh, it is a great quote. I got to read it. I had it memorized. I don't want to try it now, but making art requires the precise opposite of hanging out. Perfect for today, right? And is often a deeply lonely and unglamorous task of tolerating oneself long enough to push something out. Characterized by a lack of financial security and the necessary hours of solitude spent fucking up over and over again. Nobody wants to have that in their life because that's what it is. It's a matter of, and then something happens, you know, and it's, but you can't be happy. But you have to have some kind of joy. And that's what I think about with Ted, you know. He was never satisfied with stuff. He was always striving, always learning. And, you know, you get these glimmers, these little quickies of happiness of the moment.
Yeah.
But it's nothing that's going to be sustained, you know.
Yeah.
It goes. It's like it's a ride we're on, you know. And, you know, you're having fun going downhill, and then you got to go uphill, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You know? I like the thought of neither being happy nor sad.
Yeah.
Know?
Yeah.
Have nothing to do with those things, because that means you're not being in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're in the moment, you're probably where it's at. I like to say I'm living in the moment, but the moment sucks.
Yeah.
For fun, you know. Just
yeah.
But
but
to further answer your question, success, I think, is getting through the day and not feeling so guilty about not doing what you wanted to do. You know, this is the best I could do. You know, it's not about money. The most miserable people in the world have too much money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Very.
basically I have no answer to your question.
Well, that was a great answer, actually, and I'm always intrigued that you always in life you always get what you ask for. Sometimes you don't notice, but
Right.
yeah, you're actually speaking directly to what I've been thinking about recently, and so thank you. You probably didn't even think that you were doing that, but you are. So thank you.
I wasn't asking. You know, it's like you don't ask and then you get, and then you keep asking and you get, sort of like a little spoiled kid at Christmas.
Yeah.
Slithered. It's like I tell students sometimes, or anybody, if everybody could just forget about the past and the future, at least for now.
Yeah.
It's hard to do, especially these days.
Very hard to do. I tell my students, the past it's just memories basically. It's nice, but it's just memories. There's the present, and then there's the present future. And so as you're singing, especially for singers to kind of realize this, I think musicians do this more. It's more accepted or more taught. But for singers, they don't get that if they're scatting or if they're singing and they want to be musical, that they're actually expecting the next thing. What is the next chord, and where is it going? This just a feeling of that. So I talk about the present and the present future. Just like that. So
I would call that the perpetual uncalculated life in the present. And then there's Ted, who what key is he going to now? And that the surprise is always going to be there, especially
yeah.
especially when you're not expecting it. Yeah.
I think my favorite TED moments or arrangements were the movie themes.
Oh,
God.
El Cid.
Yeah.
Everything. He did Hitchcock. He turned me on to the Bad and the Beautiful soundtrack. And I got it. I got it on a CD. The Bad and the Beautiful, the movie from the 50s. David Raskin did the soundtrack. And he's the guy that wrote the Ben Casey theme, which is a great theme in itself.
He wrote Laura, too.
Right. I love a lot of the old TV themes.
Yeah.
Father Knows Best. Not Father Knows Best. That was okay. Bachelor Father with John Forsythe.
Oh, wow.
Niece Kelly.
Wow.
You remember? You don't
I
remember?
don't remember.
Bachelor Father? It was Beverly Hills lawyer, a bachelor lawyer, living with his beautiful niece with houseboy Peter Tong. It was out there.
Kind of vaguely remembered.
Late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
Way before the Dynasty or whatever he got involved with.
Yeah.
But great music.
Well, we watch Perry Mason almost every day just because we're just in love with the directing and the stories and the acting. And of course, that music is very, very, there. It's very prominent there, right?
I've always wanted to have a compilation of Perry Mason little short videos, like at the end when the guy says, "I did it, okay, I did it," when they confess at the end.
Yeah, that would be great. I love that idea.
Perry forces them to, just one right after the other.
I love that idea because they have very different reactions. Yeah, I'm always fascinated with that.
Right.
That's funny. I like that idea a lot.
And it's got to be a compilation of everything because everything's too much. It's too much,
Yeah.
A wealth of information.
My friend Roland is curious, with such a varied musical palette, what record did you wear out in the past?
Well, Ted and Lenny for sure. Chet Atkins. Some Joe Pass stuff. The rock stuff, Clapton in the old days. But when Chet came along, I was wearing out the records, literally putting the needle back and forth. And then I had a turntable that I could slow it down exactly an octave. It had an infinite speed. It wasn't just 33, 45, or 16, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could get even, just right in tune. So I could hear, and that's how I would get some of the Chet Atkins licks.
Huh.
But
Interesting.
yeah. And then after that, I mean, I worked at a record store like right after high school. And that's when I started taking lessons with Hank. And then I started listening to, I wasn't much into jazz. I was the one that he'd play like Chet. And then I started listening to jazz and George Benson, Pat Martino, and all the heavies,
Yeah.
And then I started listening to classical music. Keith Jarrett, piano players, Oscar Peterson, Joe Pass, and I started collecting. I have like over 1,000 records. And so that's my schooling pretty much right there. I had that in Hank,
Yeah.
But
Cool. Has there ever been a time where you just I'm guessing no, but has there ever been a time where you just were very frustrated with your playing or didn't like maybe just thought, what am I doing, or why should I continue doing this, or anything like that?
That's called every day of my life, but not to the extreme where,
Where you would really do it.
No, I'm just like, okay, now what? Because everything is maintenance too. Not everything, but you do something, you make an arrangement or you learn a tune and you have to maintain it. And then you do that on gigs, right? A lot of times you're forced to have to play this and that, and I would, get a set list together before I do a gig. But it is getting kind of frustrating these days as far as, wow, what's going to happen? Who cares? Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking at a phone.
I think
wrote tunes about
there's
that.
a mixture of stuff going on right now. I think on the one hand, I think that music almost is having a renaissance. People, there's so much music to see live, and fabulous music. And I think that the normal person is really realizing how valuable it is to have the music in their life, and to be able to see it and hear it. And and then the obvious shitty things about what's going on. Do you play with obviously we've been watching you solo. Do you play with other musicians as well?
Yes. I sent you that link with me and this guy Mike Dillon, and
Okay.
he's very advanced and a wonderful player. And we just played. It was just total improvised, which I rarely do. I mean, I'll do it alone sometimes, just noodling or whatever. But a lot of my stuff is pretty much arranged. But I'll start improvising and go into other things, and depending on the situation, how loose it is and how I feel, I'll do it differently. And certainly the mistakes will be different.
But and so this person who I'm looking for right now, is that another guitarist?
No, he's a vibes player, an amazing vibes player and percussionist, and he'll do both. And not as a circus act either. He's a musical genius, Mike Dillon.
Okay.
And I had this one gig with him, and and I've been a fan of his for years and years. I met him through Charlie Hunter. He used to play with Charlie Hunter when Charlie would come to town. In fact, I wanted to tell you, Carol and I had a gig with Hank Mackey, my teacher, back last century here at the jazz club here in New Orleans called Snug Harbor. So
Snug Harbor, yeah.
And Carol borrowed a bass, a harp from a friend of mine.
Uh-huh.
Was nice enough to loan it to her. So.
Oh, here you are.
Come on back,
me
Carol.
and Mike. Yeah, I found you here. Yeah.
It's pretty out there. I mean,
it'd be fun to listen a little to it.
Why don't you do that, and I'll get another hit of caffeine.
Good. Okay, I'm going to do that.
And if it gets like, this is boring, just just push it up to the next thing. It's all surprising to me, and it's hit and miss. It's like, oh wow, we're hitting, okay, it's how these things go.
You know, Elizabeth Gilbert, the woman who wrote Eat, Pray, and Love, she wrote a book, which I can't remember the name of it, but she had this great line that, or idea that creativity was curiosity, which just, I thought that was so cool, you know.
That's all it is.
Yeah,
That's where it's coming from.
yeah.
If you're not curious, go work at the bank, or wherever.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to play this.
Oh Lord.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So it looks like you can also buy this too for those of you interested. Let's play it. It's a digital album. Now I'm curious if there's one of him. Obviously, there is playing vibes.
Yeah. And that thing that sounded like a little dog, he's got a bunch of different Brazilian percussion things, making all kinds of wild sounds.
Yeah. Do you know?
That's a little squeeze thing that I had. That's me. Going through my pickups.
I'm just sorry. I'm going to move this ahead a little. Wow. So all of this is a lot of, it's, oh, here's some vibes. Oh, wow. So, wow. That's wild stuff, man.
Yeah, he's pushed me to my whatever limit I had. It was hard to sometimes it's hard to play with Mike because I'm like, wow, what do I do? Don't think.
That was Bandcamp, right? It's not on YouTube.
I don't think it's on YouTube. I don't know.
That was
If you,
Bandcamp.
if you
And
put if you put sidebarnola.com on YouTube, there's a bunch of stuff that'll come up and put my name and his name. But also, I'd like to plug a gig this Saturday, and it's sidebarnola.com. And it's a Saturday night, 7 to 9, New Orleans time, Saturday 5 to 7 LA time. But it's a porch scene. I'm on the porch and people are out on the sidewalk, and it's crazy. There's a bunch of porch gigs going on here. As you know, New Orleans is a musical town, and people want to hear music, and there's all kinds of crazy venues outside.
so, where would they go? Would they go to your side, or where would they go?
See something. It would be. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, it's the Facebook page of Sidebar NOLA,
Oh, okay.
or the website at www.sidebarnola.com.
Okay.
That's this Saturday, and I'm
Great.
just playing solo.
Oh, cool. Great.
Uh-oh, I think I lost you.
I'm here
No,
though.
I didn't. There you are.
I'm still here. Yeah, Toby was mentioning this percussionist here who you would have fun with. His name is Brad Dutz, and he was doing for 2 years, he was doing a Thursday night new music, kind of abstract music in like series at this place in Sunland called Sunspace, which was a tiny artist hang, very tiny, very,
Where
very
is
funky.
where is Sun? Did you say Sunland?
Sunland, yeah, it's part of LA. It's
Yeah.
kind of near what they call the Valley,
Yeah.
and it was great. A Thursday night, you saw all kinds of Brad Dutz, who curated it, was just had great taste, and he knew a lot of people. So you'd see really great people in the more abstract type of vein, and yeah, and he's like one of my favorite percussionists, if not my favorite
What's the name
percussionist. He
of
would
the
be
club?
fun, huh?
What was the name of the club?
The club was called Sunspace.
Okay. I had a gig lined up last April before everything shut down. I had a gig at the Baked Potato solo, and Carol's all stoked to be there, and there was going to be a bunch of guitarists there, and it didn't happen. I had some go up the coast to Big Sur and play.
Oh man, that's
heartbreaker.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, my friend Dan and I went to the Baked Potato. I don't remember when it was. Maybe it might have been June, or I can't remember. It was obviously not during the super shutdown. But the Baked Potato was like one of the only clubs that was actually open. And of course, they booked, like a fifth of the room or something with people. But it felt so good to hear music. It was like, oh my God,
When was that?
Huh?
When was that?
I can't quite remember. Dan, if you're listening, tell me. But I think it was a little earlier on, like in June, because they weren't really sure they wanted to shut down everything yet,
Yeah.
So yeah, and the guy, oh, his name is, I'm gonna forget his name. You probably know of him. He's a pianist who kind of a synthesizer player who sounds like Joe Zawinul. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Joe Zawinul, I met Scott Henderson in '89 when I was living around Big Sur. I saw him at the Kumbwa Jazz Club in Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
And I said, I got to go see Joe Zawinul. And I had no clue who was playing. And that's when I saw Scott Henderson. And then he came to New Orleans with his band later on, and got to be friends. And he's the one who got me the gig at the Baked Potato. He almost like forced me to take this. You got to play here, man. I can get you a gig there. He's so sweet, and he's an amazing player.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Amazing player.
And great player. I think of Mike Miller when I think of Scott. And Jeff Richmond. Do you know Jeff Richmond?
No.
He's kind of like a L.A. Schofield.
Wow.
Yeah, he's really a great player. He's in one of my bands that I keep having over the years, And but yeah, he's a really good player, and he knows a lot of people, and he's played at the Baked Potato forever. Yeah. You gotta love guitar players, man.
Yeah. And then we were talking before we went on about Sid Jacobs.
Sid Jacobs.
And Jay Graydon is another one, but they just stay. They don't.
Ron Eshte. You must know Ron Eshte.
Oh, Ron Eshte, of course. He used to be good friends with Hank, my teacher.
Huh.
And so, because he's from here. They
Yeah.
went to college together. So when I first went to LA, I hooked up with Ron for some lessons. And then I heard that Lenny Breau was teaching in Nashville. So I went to Nashville and met Lenny Breau for the first time. And that was a trip. But no, Ron is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like guitar players, and is it just me, or it seems like there's a very strong community of great guitar players, not just in LA, across the board. Is it just me because I like guitar or something, or do you feel like that?
It's probably a combination of all that, but yeah, it is pretty. We know who to know and not to know, and who's a new guy. There's this kid now, he's probably 24 years old now, Matteo Mancuso, this Italian boy.
Oh, I have to write that down. Matteo?
Yeah, Mancuso. Check him out on YouTube. He is just incredible.
Huh.
And musical. And he's playing with these chops like flamenco, like finger style.
Oh.
And he's taken the world by storm.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And then there's Julian Lage
Julian Lage is another one. And he probably is the foremost as far as technique. He can play with the pick. He plays with a pick and his fingers. That's rare to do. It's hard to do. All his fingers, but he's holding a pick. that's very unique technique, and Julian's amazing. I was just
Yeah.
listening to him the other day, and my little suede shoes by whoever, dun 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 dun. He took it way out.
My friend, check this out. My friend before COVID was in the process of producing a record with Julian and Steve Swallow.
Ooh, wow.
They had never met, they had never played together. It was just my friend's kind of idea. And
And then the COVID thing.
yeah, then the COVID thing hit.
Uh, one,
Matteo's Italian, you said, right?
Jay Graydon wants to record him. In fact, he's been in contact with him about recording, and I'm thinking, is there such thing as recording these days? First of all, nobody has a CD player anymore unless they have an old car, or they have, they happen to have a CD. A lot of people don't have CD players, so
I know it's hard to find.
So, one other guy I got to mention that I'm blown away by recently. He's a Brazilian guitarist. I think Argentina. Yamandu, Yamandu, Yamandu Costa, Costa. Mind blowing, 7-string, musical, mind blowing, like Art Tatum chops, but his own music, just another world. I mean, all these, from Scott Henderson to, it's just so much wealth of information that's like, oh, what am I going to listen to? Okay, what am I going to listen to? So
Do you know Bob Moses?
I think I met him back in the '70s, late '70s, when I was living in Providence. I was living in Providence.
Oh, aha, that comes out. You were living somewhere else.
For summer with my friend Greg Mazel, who
Well,
I'm here, and we got together and we played music in Providence. Great horn player, swing, loves modern everything. He loves it all. Great musician.
well,
But
Bob Moses, the reason I bring him up is because one of his mentors, or his mentor, his big mentor, is a guitarist, percussionist named Tizigi Munoz.
wow.
You should check him out. He's really interesting. Like within one record, he'll play this amazing rock kind of fusion, and then he'll play the most delicate, beautiful, spacious ballad. And apparently, he played with a lot of big guys, and he's actually a spiritual leader.
Oh, like Ted. Like Ted.
Like Ted, yeah. But anyway, Bob has played with him for years, but also he's mentee.
Could you spell it?
Yeah, Tsigzi. I think that's it. Munoz, Munoz.
Nice. I know my friend Emily Remler,
Yeah, sure.
checked
She
out
was
1990.
great.
She used to
Way
play
too
Bob
young.
Moses. She loved Bob
Oh,
Moses.
yeah,
She was,
yeah. Bob Moses, he's cool. He's a cool guy. You would love to speak with him and create with him. He's really cool.
out of my league, man. I leave that for. There's a guy in town named Steve Mezakowski who's above and beyond. Just you know, he was one of Hank Mackey's students, and he went to Berkeley for a couple of years and came back and
His
just.
name sounds familiar. Steve Mazakowski.
Mezakowski, yeah, he is phenomenal. 7-string player, low A,
Oh,
and but he was with Emily Remler for a while. They were an item. He brought
oh,
her back to New Orleans. He's from here. She's from
Oh.
Jersey, and she lived here for like 5 years. And
Oh, okay.
she met Herb Ellis, and she got on the Concord label, and that's when that started.
She was really a great
Yeah.
player.
And through her, I met Larry Coryell, and then Monty Alexander. It was. I love Last Century, don't you?
Totally. Yeah, man. It's just great. Yeah. It's especially with doing like this memorial for Barry Zweig, and we've been I mean, he knew so many people loved him, but he was going to be I think he was going to be 78, and so, you know, it was the last the old group of people, and so digging them up and talking with them, and yeah, it's just it was a different time. It was a different time, different people, different personalities, and
Yeah,
different kind of fun or something.
I call it pre-iPhone,
Yeah.
pre-phone, before everybody was. It's sad.
Yeah, yeah.
I read,
Um,
you know.
I wanted to tell you, you had mentioned Appalachian. I spoke to, there's this couple, Keith Terry is a body percussionist, and his wife is
Wait,
Evie
wait.
Lade.
I'm sorry. Was it a body percussionist?
Yeah, he's a very well-known, world-traveled body percussionist. He has a whole,
Oh, a la Bobby Mcferrin or something.
well,
When you said
beyond.
body, I was imagining some performance art where there's some person with not much clothes on and they're playing that.
No, I think he wears his clothes when he does it.
Okay,
He's
right.
really unbelievable at it. And, there's these particular things that you do, there's,
Any,
uh,
any vocals?
no, not with him particularly, except, maybe just calling out or something. But his
Wow.
wife is a woman named Evie Layden, and she's really talented. First of all, gosh, she clogs amazing. She plays banjo like to die over. She plays
Really?
guitar, and
And they live in Appalachia.
no, and she sings too. But she is her main love and style is Appalachian. And
Uh-huh.
when I was talking with her, and I realized, first of all, I don't know shit about Appalachian, and second of all, talk about a real music from America. I
Yeah.
mean, that is, and a lot of people don't know it, don't know the real stuff. They've heard like, things that have developed. It's kind of like I remember when I heard Lee Ritenour again after years, and I thought, I love Lee Ritenour. It's the people copying Lee Ritenour that I actually don't like.
I read
But
some.
Lee Ritenour is a great guitar player.
Yeah. Tell me the body percussionist name again.
Yeah, his name is Keith Terry, Terry.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bobby Mcferrin lived here for a few months
Oh,
before he, you know,
I
we're
mean,
talking early '80s.
oh, before he got well known.
But yeah, he was just mind blowing, man. It's like when we heard him, it was like, holy shit, just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I know. I know. Real genius. I know a lot of people who have been in his groups. Rhiannon is a
Yeah,
singer. Um, Roger, Roger, blah, blah. I forget Roger's last name. He's the one who actually arranged vocabularies. Did you ever hear that record of Bobby's?
oh, wow.
Gorgeous. That's there's a whole bunch of singers on it singing, arrangements for Bobby's thing. It's really beautiful. Vocabulary is
He had,
really beautiful.
he had a thing called Voycestra.
Voicestra.
Voice, pardon me, I'm from down south.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's 13 voices.
yeah.
Yeah, I saw that a few times.
I saw Bobby when he debuted with Charles Lloyd and Michelle Petrucciani
Wow.
in Carmel. in 1985 or 6.
Wow.
Just it, and it was just amazing.
You know, something brilliant that I found when I was talking to Russell Ferrante from the Yellow Jackets, I found this YouTube of Bobby and the Yellow Jackets. Bobby was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was incredible, and Bobby was incredible. You know, it's just, wow, it was amazing.
Bobby has an energy that's hard to top. I mean, it's beyond approach.
Yeah. Hey, I want to ask you. Do you or do you think of? I'll be in the present moment. Do you have an intention to give people something particular with your creations?
A smile, you know, something simple. I mean, I don't have an intention. If they're listening and they don't leave, I don't know if that's an intention, but you know, just the feedback and the connection is good.
Yeah.
But and you know, the hardest thing is playing in front of a guitarist or another musician.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my intention there is like, be cool and don't think and get through it. You know?
Don't think.
Oh, somebody walked in, you know, forget it.
Yeah.
You know, I think Ted was so self-conscious about just wanting to please, and just he had a confidence, obviously, but he was not into business, you know. And this is, you know, it's hard to. He didn't like the business end of music.
Yeah, he didn't.
And a lot of times it's paralysis, you know.
Yeah, I write and that's probably part of the reason why he charged like $12 a lesson or something.
So he had to force money on. He wouldn't take it. He wouldn't take my money.
Did you know his girlfriend?
I met Barbara at the celebration for him at Spazia.
Yeah.
I didn't know her before that.
Yeah, she played guitar pretty well, actually. Yeah, they were some peas in a pod, man, and I feel confident that's why she really died, because it was maybe 3 years later she died. She just didn't want to be here without him.
A lot of people, like older people, you'll have one person die and then somebody the partner following.
Yeah.
In months or a year or whatever. And it's just a sad aspect of life and relationships and so we do.
What was one of your favorite gigs?
I can't really say.
Okay, that's good. Do you have a worst gig?
Oh, plenty of those. You know, it involves people who weren't listening, that's for sure. You know, but no, there's some memorable gigs. I just can't nail one. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe the Spazio gig and having those cats and playing in front of those guys. You know.
Yeah. When it's right, it's just so great.
You're not in your home element with the same people. You're just out there, because I didn't really travel and tour and anything. I just stayed here for the most part. I go anywhere. I've done a couple of gigs in New York City at the Cutting Room, and I love going out to LA and playing, but only had a couple of gigs out there, and I was going to have a third one, but obviously it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
What do you think is going to happen, especially in New Orleans? Like, do you think that are people playing outside right now?
I don't know if that would be happening. There's somebody in City Park that plays sometimes, you know, and I'm sure there's somebody in the French Quarter who's playing, but there's no tourists around. I mean, this whole place is based on tourism.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was just talking to somebody about how the Jazz Fest they're booking people for they think they're gonna have it in October.
Yeah, that you were telling me. Yeah.
Which means they have to book now, especially because, you know, the Jazz Fest here has gotten to be a big rock fest. I mean, they'd have the Who, you know, Santana. I mean, rock stars, Stevie Wonder on this big one stage, and then they'd have, you know, jazz and Cajun music and different. It was like many different stages, but this one main stage, you'd have the Eagles, you know, and which means it's packed. So it's just I kind of gave up going for the last few years. It's just got so commercial.
Yeah.
And I'm over it. I used to go all the time. I played there almost every year, and it's like it's kind of over. Like it's so corporate and
yeah,
it's stifling, and the weather sucks usually.
Yeah.
It's like late April, early May, and like I say, it's like
getting hot.
It's hot. It's hard. It's hard to play. You know, there's no soap to wash your hands before you play, and my hands are sticky and all this stuff. Anyway, it is an amazing event, but it's just gotten out of hand.
How long does it last?
I don't know. It was a 2-weekend situation.
Huh.
The first weekend would be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I mean, it was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The second would be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and Sunday. And it was an amazing. They'd have so many performers. I mean, you'd have the gospel tent.
Yeah.
You'd have 60 kids on there singing. And that's pretty incredible. You know, just to hear that stuff and hear the enthusiasm. So you drop on there, and then you'd go hear some, I don't know, Randy Newman down at the other stage. You know, I mean, it's pretty incredible. Power over here. You know,
wow.
and then some Zydeco. You know, so it was very versatile, but 70% of the people went to hear the rock stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, whatever. You know, you'd probably do really well in Japan. I bet they would go crazy for you in Japan. In fact, there's a Ted Greene student guy who has come into his own, you know, a long time ago. I can't remember his name right now, but I have his record. Because he contacted me over the years. But yeah, you would probably have a really good time in Japan, I bet.
Ted has encouraged and inspired so many players now that are really great players.
Yeah.
You know, 20, 30 years of studying of just Ted stuff and having that obsession and having the just wanting to get out there to play, you know.
Yeah.
And Ted just wanted to teach. That's all he wanted to do. He didn't want to get out there to play.
Yeah. How long have you been teaching?
Oh, since I started studying with Hank.
Oh.
On and off now, obviously. You know, I do some students, you know, but I'd rather play. Or I like, you know, I have to be choosy about students. You know, I don't like beginners. I can't do it well. I'm not a good beginner. You know, I don't teach how to read. You know, so I'm very, you know, they have to come to me for what I'm doing and be interested sort of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Which is highly egotistical, but not really.
Not really. It's kind of realistic, actually.
Yeah. Ego realistic.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good term.
I thought of a new term for, I'm not going to mention any names, but ego-testicular cancer. You know, our deposed leader. Anyway.
I just saw that video today. Um, have you seen that video? Like somebody took all the, like the Statue of Liberty and all those things, and they're all like
Yeah.
all of a sudden getting live and feeling bye. That's a funny video.
Yeah. The video called "End of an Error," ERROR.
Oh.
It's quite a mess.
Yeah.
But we have music.
We have music, thank God. Yeah. Yeah.
And I write parodies about all that stuff too.
Yeah.
I wrote a parody. I like, just fun. It's therapy for me. It's like very therapeutic to write about somebody holding a phone all day.
Can you quote one of your parodies or play it?
I can play one that's less than a minute.
Okay.
It's called
Love your clothes, by the way. You're very colorful.
Thank you. You have to put up with my voice.
Okay.
I don't do Facebook or snort Instagram. Twitter makes me bitter. Plus, I don't give a damn. And not much time has elapsed since we went from the planet of apes to the planet of apps. But I don't mind being alone. Apple can kiss my ass. I got my flip-top phone. I can even do this. What's it all about? Selfie. Is it just for the ego that we
Yay!
That's the therapeutic part of the show when I see people. And then the worst though is when they start recording you without asking, and then they post it. Whoa, no.
I know, that is just like, yeah, that's just, yeah, that's crazy shit.
I would like to do a little like coffee table style book, like what would Ted do?
Yeah. You got a little softer for some reason.
Uh-oh. What happened?
I don't know. I mean, we're almost over actually. It's been 2 hours. But isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
You know, Phil,
Because here, we're 20 years behind California. Like when California banned smoking finally in public restaurants.
Yeah.
Years ago, we just did it like 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So New Orleans is like third world and proud of it.
Makes me want to come visit.
Come on.
Come on down.
I was here not that long ago. She went to a harp conference.
Yeah, it would be really nice to
and
come.
It was in the middle of the summer in New Orleans. Harp players, it's like, no, you don't come here in the summer with a harp. I'm sorry. Winter might do, but that's why we're the funkiest place, because you can't tune up because of humidity.
Oh.
Always over the top, and we're below sea level.
Yeah.
And
the whole voodoo thing, is that what you said?
Yeah, and then chemicals. There's like
Yeah.
chemical abuse, all this stuff. It's just so wild down.
Yeah.
No rhyme or reason. But it's an alluring place, you know. And it's a
Yeah.
great place to come to escape, to get more fat and fucked up than you already were in Kansas.
I'm gonna make my way down over there in the next bunch of years. Oh, you know who else? You know who else I know? And we can't. I mean, we could talk, but your volume has somehow changed. But anyway, I worked on the Mississippi Queen with Johnny
Whoa!
Vodakovich.
Whoa, my man. He's a good friend of mine. I just saw him the other day. He lives in my neighborhood. Johnny is the cat. Wait, now you got to repeat this again. You worked at the.
On the Mississippi Queen.
So we're talking the 70s.
Let's see.
80s?
Actually, I think I was married with my first husband. It was probably at least like, maybe it was the 90s.
Um,
Maybe. But it was a long time ago. And when I got up to sing and Johnny was playing and Al Boletto was the leader.
oh, man. It's amazing that you throwing these names down. This is like who I grew up with.
Yeah.
When I
And
started getting into jazz, that's who was playing.
yeah.
You know,
And so the song started, and I immediately felt Johnny's time and feel. And I turned around and I looked at Al, and he said, "I know." That's what
Johnny, by the way, does a Facebook thing from his house every day at 4:00 New Orleans time. So
You're kidding.
2:00 here. He's on right now here, and there too, obviously. But Johnny Vodakovich Facebook for like a half hour, 40 minutes, and he'll play "It Could Happen to You" solo and do the melody, and it's just amazing. He's a hero. He's like one of the.
Wait, solo on drums or
Yeah,
something else?
Yeah. You'll hear the melody.
Oh,
I've heard. I mean, that's what he's known for. He plays a melody on drums. Plus, he's just a character. Now, in the 90s, he may have been misbehaving on the gig. And
he was a little misbehaving. Yeah.
You don't want to do a third set, right? But he's such a sweetheart, you know.
Totally great. And actually, now that we're talking about him, I forgot this is one of those songs that kind of got lost in my book, but I wrote a real simple, groovy song about him.
Wow.
Way down in New Orleans, bump, bump, that kind of groove.
Yeah.
And, it's really kind of a cool, I'll have to dig that song out.
Did he get to hear that, or did you?
I don't know if he ever got to hear that song. Yeah. I'd have to get somebody like yourself who's very creative to make a really simple song sound good, you know.
Well, I can make a real simple song sound weird. I don't know about good.
Well, that's my idea of good. Weird.
Oh,
That's my idea.
Different. Yeah. That is amazing that you've thrown out these names now. Because I worked at a jazz club as a bartender when I was like in my early 20s. Studying.
Yeah.
And I was like, listening, Milt Jackson's playing in the next room. And I'm like, it was and Al Boletto played there. And Ellis Marcellus played there all the time. And Wynton Marcellus, 14 years old, would come in and sit in, and Ellis they'd be playing Cherokee up, and Wynton, you could tell he was getting frustrated that he wasn't doing what he was hearing. So he'd go home and just shed. He was very, very obsessed, obviously. But all of Marcellus, they're amazing.
Yeah. Totally wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, Phil, I feel like you're a kindred spirit, and I'm so glad that you came on. I'm really, really happy that you came on, and just great to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Cathy. I really appreciate you encouraging me to do this, because I'm like, Zoom, shit, I'm freaking out. It's like I freak out real easy, but
I know, and you said you had nothing to say, which obviously.
I have nothing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. That's how Randy Newman starts off one of his great tunes. have nothing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. Oh, it's such a thrill and a blessing to talk to you and meet you here on the World Wide Web and all that stuff.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Phil DeGruy, and who knows, maybe I'll convince Lauren that he can use Zoom too, because so far he's like going, oh, I don't know.
Come on, Lauren.
That would be interesting. Or
Come on, Lauren. Come on. So wonderful. Have a great night, and
you too.
maybe we'll see each other in person before too long.
Yeah, and
I'm gonna get out there. I'm gonna get that potato gig.
Absolutely. And if you come this way, I'll help create stuff, because that's what I do well. And anyone listening tomorrow, Elizabeth Contamanu is on, and she's a really deep, beautiful singer, jazz singer from France, who I became a fan of hers a long time ago. Very organic voice and just really cool. And next week we're having Satina Donato, arranger, pianist. Flora Purim will be on Tuesday.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then
I saw her in New Orleans in the late 70s with Ayrton.
I'm really looking forward to speaking with her. Yeah.
Well, you have such a wonderful world going here. I'm so delighted that you're
cool. Yeah. And just so you know, you're number 231.
Got it. Wow. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Phil.
What do I do now? I just leave?
You just leave, and I leave, and I say, bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Bye. Bye, Carol. Love you. And thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks, Phil. Bye.